welcome to the CPD Group Podcast. Join us as we guide you through all things CPD, interview some special guests, and offer advice to help your business thrive. We hope you enjoy listening. Welcome back to episode 2 of our latest series of the CPD Group Podcast. We are here today with Rebecca, our Accreditation and Compliance Manager. And following up from the last episode, we were going to be talking about the logos that we distribute and what they mean and what they're for and how to use them essentially. So welcome, Rebecca. How are you?
Nice to see you again.
Super. The last time I mentioned I wasn't going to make Rebecca a cup of tea again, and I've been roped into it again. I'm not happy with myself.
Thank you.
It's okay, don't worry about it.
I think we should just make this a regular thing. So every podcast is Andy's tea making.
Well,
thanks.
No, I'm not up for that, I have to admit. Anyway, logos. Let's have a quick chat about that, shall we? So tell us the different types of logos, because we do offer a variety of logos, and they're all for a very particular reason, aren't they? So could you just outline what those are for us, please?
Absolutely. So we at the CPD Group offer different logos for our different types of accreditation. So you'll notice with other CPD companies, they might have just one logo that covers all their accreditations, but here we have different ones. So we have the provider approval logo, we have the activity logos, and each one is individual to each activity. So if you have 10 activities accredited with ourselves, you will get 10 individual logos. There's trainer accreditation and there's employer accreditation, as well as webinars, podcasts and editorials. So each one is very specific to the type of accreditation that you've asked for.
Excellent. Right, let's touch on those then. First one, the approved provider logo. Tell us a little bit about that. What's it for and how it can be used?
So once you've completed your application form, we've reviewed it and we've got to know you as a company better. So we look at you as a provider, look at whether that you are ready, your CPD ready, check that you've got your policies in place. You will be issued a provider logo, and that has your provider number on it, which can be verified on the CPD register, which we'll obviously talk about throughout this with regards to where we list different accreditations. And that's what you can use to demonstrate to your customers that you are CPD ready, essentially. But that's purely for the provider. So that doesn't cover any activities or any of your trainers. That's the next step in the process. This is sort of part 1 of the process with us.
Yeah, I suppose the logo itself kind of, shows the public, shows your potential clients that you've been scrutinised by us, and you've got all the fundamental elements in place that a reputable training provider should have, so that they can have confidence when approaching you, I suppose. Does that wrap it up in a nutshell?
Yeah, I think so. But it's key to use it properly, the use of the logos, so that learners aren't unintentionally misinformed.
Right, yeah.
I think that's the key. So the provider logo can be used to demonstrate to your learners, on your website, on your social media, to show that you have been approved as a CPD provider. That's what it's used for, but it wouldn't be used on your activities, like your courses, for example. That it doesn't cover that. So we are very clear, and we will support you and speak with you if we need to support you using it in the right places.
Lovely. What we'll touch on a bit later on is kind of, the ways that they shouldn't be used. Okay, so let's have a quick chat now about the activities, the specific logos that are for webinars, as you say, podcasts, courses, editorials, those kind of logos. Now, what's different about those to the approved provider one?
So each logo is given out for the activities, and it has a unique activity number on specific to that activity. And I think that's the key. So it's not a generic one for all of your activities. And it means then whether it's learners, employers or insurers, if they need to verify the certificate, which we are finding is becoming more apparent each day, that people do need to verify the CPD that they've done. Everything's listed on the CPD register, and people can use that number to confirm the course title that they've completed and the hours as well. So it's a great way to support the verification of your learner's CPD.
Fantastic. So in essence, I can take my certificate after completing a course, go to the CPD register, type in the number that's on my certificate in the logo, and then be able to verify that that particular certificate is valid and the accreditation was live at the time that I did that training.
Absolutely, and for the course title. So it's just very clear. It means, you know, it's very clear to everybody what CPD has been done.
Super. And then also on that logo, you say that the CPD credits hours are on there as well, which means when I'm providing that certificate to whoever I need to, my professional body, for example, and I need to evidence my ongoing CPD, there's a record there of exactly how many hours I've contributed and participated.
Absolutely. So the CPD credit hours, 1 hour of learning is 1 CPD credit. It's a fairly easy calculation, a crossover. So if you do have minimum hours of CPD to do across the year, which several sections do require, you can clearly demonstrate where you've broken down your CPD.
Lovely. So in terms of the trainer logo then, so when I've gone through the trainer application process and I've been accredited and I get my logo, what am I able to use that for?
So that verifies you as a trainer. So that's showing to your learners or companies that you're working with that we have, as a third party, reviewed your experience, reviewed your qualifications and CPD, and verified that you are able to teach the subjects that you've got listed on your application. We ensure that you have demonstrated that you have that knowledge and expertise, but it's purely for your verification for you. It's not your courses. It is you. It's very separate to that. You can have it run alongside your activities. We have several companies who have verification of their activities and their trainers, and it just gives that confidence to the learners that the person who's teaching them has that background, has that knowledge, and they can ask those questions. They know that they know their stuff.
Yeah, they also get their lovely little trainer card as well, which demonstrates their, the subjects that we've accredited them to teach as well.
So it's a business card, really good. You can tap it on the mobile and it brings all their information up. So it's really clear to see exactly what we verified them in.
Yeah, very helpful. And the final one you mentioned was the employer accreditation and the logo that comes with that. Now, what do employers use that logo for?
That's probably more useful for their potential employees, their staff, to show them that they are a company who's committed to CPD, that they're willing to provide that CPD, because that's really, I think, becoming more evident as people apply for jobs. They want to go to companies that are going to support their development, support their progression, both professionally and personally. And so the CPD employer accreditation that we offer, we will look at the business as a whole, who they are, what they offer as CPD sort of as standard, but also how they track that and how they support additional CPD opportunities that aren't necessarily mandatory at the beginning, and how they maintain people's CPD through the time that they're with them, which is it's a really good accreditation to have, and I think it's really key for employees to know what they're getting.
Absolutely. I mean, I was talking to one of our employer accredited providers, and they're a care home. Okay, so they work with care in a facility, and they were using the employer accreditation to demonstrate to the families of potential clients who were coming into the care home that they maintain standards within within the building, and making sure that all of their staff are highly trained, and it's a constant training matrix that they're going through. Yes, they do their mandatory training on an annual basis, but it was also demonstrating the above and beyond sort of training that people could get involved in, and how they fund that, and how they actually let people apply for certain things that will help them develop in their role, whether that's CPD or qualifications. So they were using that as a tool to demonstrate to the public that come and bring your relatives to us, and it gives that kind of that confidence to families that we're putting our relative into a place where they are going to be cared for by people who are highly trained and continuously trained as well.
Absolutely, and I think it's just that extra reassurance on all sides really, and especially because it's a third party that's coming to look at it. It's not something that they're just claiming. It's somebody else has checked and does agree that they offer the core training, they offer additional training, they track it, and they are supportive of it, because that's the key, to have the buy-in from both the employer and the employee, and CPD can have a huge impact across all sectors.
Totally agree. Right, so that's how you use the logos. Now, let's talk about how you don't use the logos, okay? Because we do see this quite often. We have lots of, we have a reporting mechanism on our website, and we have people coming to us and reporting that they have certain experiences with organizations using our brand. So we think it's really important to demonstrate to you today and to talk about how the brand is used, what logos are used for what, and what they are not used for, okay? So let's start with the approved provider logo. Go back to the beginning there.
Okay.
Now, give us an example of what people have done with that approved provider logo, whether intentionally or unintentionally, okay? Because we do realize that, some people just don't know what they don't know. So this is why we're doing today's episode. So tell us what some people, it's come to our attention, have done with the approved provider logo.
So I think the most common thing that we see is the approved provider logo going on certificates, which implies to the learners that activity is accredited. And sometimes it is. They have just popped on the wrong logo. They do have the accredited activity logo. They've just not popped the right one on, or they don't have. I think the biggest concern is the ones that don't have the activities accredited, because the learners have bought that training, that CPD course, because they wanted an accredited course. Sometimes because they need it for things like insurance. It has to be accredited. And then when they obviously go and check and verify, they get a little surprise that it isn't actually accredited. So it's really key to have the right one on. Like you say, often it's unintentional, especially because other CPD providers do things differently to us. So, it's making sure that they realise that, when you come to us, we accredit things individually. For the learners. Yeah,
so everything is standalone. Approved provider logo is specifically for that, isn't it? It's to show that you as a provider, as a CPD provider, are approved by us. We've scrutinised you, we're happy that you meet all of the criteria that we set, and we've deemed you as CPD ready.
Absolutely, which then means you then can move on to the next step of the process, which is then the activities, whether that's a course, whether that's a webinar, whether that's a podcast. The first step is the provider.
Yeah, lovely. So let's talk about those then, the activities and the logos that come with that then. What have we seen in the past with people using those logos in an incorrect manner?
So one of the things that we say is that the accredited activity logos is for your certificates and learning materials only. Well, obviously once they've been accredited, because you don't get the logo until it's done. But yeah, it's specifically for that, so that it's very clear to the learners that activity has been accredited. We don't want it shared on social media, often because, it can also then, other people could have access to it, because we're finding other activity logos on other courses that shouldn't be. So it's sort of protecting yourself and your accreditation, really. So to just use it on certificates only. And again, then that's then used to verify, because it has the unique number on it. It has the CPD credits, and it has then the link to the CPD register, which we use.
I mean, one of the examples that I was brought to my attention was a particular provider, naming no names, had 5 courses accredited with us, and they had 5 individual logos which they were using on the certificates for those courses, but they also had another 15 courses. They were just simply using those same logos on all of the certificates for those particular course titles as well. Now, tell me the pitfalls of doing that.
Well, the pitfall is it's obviously misleading your learners, which is the biggest thing, and obviously that can have, repercussions as a provider if you are misleading your learners, because like I said, some sectors have regulatory amounts of CPD hours that you have to do across the year. Some of it can be sort of the more informal CPD, and some of it has to be more formal. And obviously, if it's not accredited, that can have implications for the learners as well. And some insurance companies require accredited activities, which then obviously puts the learners in a position when they find out it's not accredited. So it's really important to be clear to your learners and get everything accredited, especially if that's what you're advertising it as. It's really, really key, because when it's verified, the learners will see that it's not. And obviously, like you said, there is that report function for learners to use, and then obviously we will have to look into it and then support the providers to get activities accredited.
Yeah, I mean, one of the examples, and I'll just use example kind of course titles here, is they had a certificate for, let's say, health and safety. They'd done a course for health and safety. They went to the CPD register, typed in the number to verify that the certificate was valid before they gave it to their employer, and it came up on the register as a fire safety course. Because the provider had just used the fire safety accreditation logo and popped it on the certificate for health and safety. So it meant that the learner was, their certificate looked a little bit questionable because it wasn't correct to what they'd actually studied. So it's very important that you use the right logos on the right particular courses. And if you do have multiple courses, you have them all accredited individually, because they will all be assigned their own unique number that will be submitted to the CPD register.
Yeah. And more people are verifying their CPD.
They really are. Yeah.
Which is great, because it raises the standards across the whole industry. So it's key to get it right at the beginning.
Yeah, ultimately what we're trying to achieve. So perfect stuff. So moving on from that, then let's have a talk about the trainer logo. What have you heard or seen about the trainer logo that is not correct?
So, like we said before, the trainer accreditation is verifying your expertise and knowledge. It's not accrediting the activities. And sometimes we're finding certificates are being issued with the trainer logo on, implying that the course is accredited. Yeah. And again, often unintentional, but in doing so, it means learners are receiving unaccredited training, which is not what they have booked into. So and we do try with the framework. The advertising is really key to making sure learners, it's all transparent. Yeah. So it's making sure the right logos are on.
Absolutely, because the last thing we want, and we don't want trainers to believe this, that what you touch after you've been accredited as a trainer is accredited underneath that banner. It's just not the case, is it?
No.
We have literally scrutinised you as an individual with your competencies in delivering the material that you claim that you're qualified in, so we will check that. And then also that you are an educator as well. We'll be checking those kind of things. And that's what the accreditation is attached to, isn't it? Rather than the actual materials you're delivering.
Yes, we haven't looked at that, because that falls under a separate accreditation. So it is just you as a trainer. Absolutely,
super. And then finally, the employer. I mean, have we had any instances of the employer accreditation being used in a way that probably isn't correct?
Not so far. I think that one's quite a clear one. It is being used correctly to promote to their potential employees, as well as, in the example you gave, that their customers, that they are committed to that CPD. So that one seems to be quite clear.
Super. Well, thank you very much, Rebecca. That's all very useful information for people out there, okay? Now, please do, if you have any questions about the logos that you have received for your accreditation or your approved provider status, please let us know. But also, if you log into your platform and go to the resources area on the main dashboard, you'll be able to find our brand guidelines in there that will describe everything that we've talked about in a bit more detail for you. So please do access that, because it is really important that you use the brand correctly and use the correct logos for the correct purposes. Okay, now, if again you do have any questions, just let us know. We're here to help, and you can contact us in any way through Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, the website. Give us a ring. It's not a problem at all. We're here to help. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to this next episode in the series, and we will be here to talk to you soon about another interesting subject. All right, thank you very much, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to the CPD Group Podcast. Be sure to tune in next time for more helpful content. See you soon.
Before you go, did you know that you can receive a free CPD certificate from listening to this podcast? All you need to do is head over to the cpd.group/podcast. That's the cpd.group/podcast and enter the confirmation code 800019.